appreciate you staying with us, everyone. Time to look at the papers, but Queen Agaba is here on the program. Queen, good to see you.
Good to see you too. Good morning.
Good morning.
How do I say you look like now? You know, with the filler. This is called, do you know what this is called in Yoruba?
You want to tell me?
I just said, eh?
You want to tell me?
Yeah, I just said it now. It's called filler.
Fila, okay. Is
Yeah.
that where you have fila oge or something?
Yeah, filler oge, yes. That's where we have it from, the usual slant. And then there's another cap. They call that the Awolowo cap. I don't know if you know about that.
I know about Awolowo cap.
And it has the fringe by the side. But
Right.
I typically like this particular kind of cap. You know.
You know, I was, my heart was in between my lips a while ago. I thought you were going to say I look like a politician.
Oh, yeah, you do. You do. You know, this is...
That sounds scary.
Really? Why does it? Why does it
Well-
have to sound... It should be a compliment when people say, but because of how, you know, politicians are, the nature of politicians.
And the impression that most of them have given us
Yeah.
in the last few years in particular, right?
True, true. If not, I should be happy if someone says I look like a politician. But because of how and where we are, when people say you look like a politician, now you begin to get
Are you
scared.
proud if somebody were to say, if you were to say to somebody, somebody says to you, what do you do for a living? What's your line of work? You say, I'm a politician. Like a career politician. Interesting.
Maybe become one.
Yeah, let's turn to the papers, everyone. We'll begin with the Blueprint newspaper for you this morning. Above the nameplate first, it reads, ASU urges FG to meet public varsity lecturers' demands. Hopefully, we're not going that way, I'm suspecting now. Ongoing reforms in the interests of Nigerians. Apparently, that's the federal government talking. Ongoing reforms in the interest of Nigerians, with two riders, assures on new investment opportunities, tackling poverty. We'll work with executives on nation's challenges. Abbas, as Speaker of the House of Representatives, giving you assurances there. AfroBasket qualifiers, FG steps in as D-Tigers storm Tunisia. What's more? Business. FAC. FG states LG's share 1.149 trillion naira in January. Senate kicks against service extension for NAT clerk, others. And then when you take a look at the left end of the front page of today's issue of the Blueprint, someone who cuts fare for public transport by 25%. Okay, it's 3 official working days. I don't know if you saw that earlier. Governor of Lagos State now saying that workers in the civil service can come to work 3 days a week. In between, they can work from home. That's more like a hybrid schedule, work schedule. And the state government in Lagos has also cut down the costs of transport, as the cost of fares, which is commendable. I was saying this morning at the top of the show that it is something I guess other state governors can take a cue from. They may not do precisely the same thing, but they can find inspiration in it and drive certain initiatives that can also make life a bit more bearable for their people.
Yeah, especially now with all of the economic hardship that we're facing. This is quite commendable. The civil servants, now 3 times a week, I don't know what I think about that, coming to work 3 times a week.
You think it's not effective enough?
It is, owing to the fact that we know how civil service offices are. When we walk in there, there's basically, now I'm talking from experience because I've had to walk into certain offices.
Were you ever a civil servant?
No, I wasn't a civil servant. But this is it. It's welcoming. But now, as regards the hybrid system, for them to be able to work from home, I have a bit of doubt as to how effective that system is going to be, because we now begin to look at how many of them are computer literate or inclined, you know, in terms of working from home. What measures have been put in place to ensure that these people can they work from home? You know,
can they still be able to deliver sizable value? Yes, excellently.
Yeah, as regards working from home. So all of these should be put into consideration as well, so that we don't have a system where we have told these people to work from home and then they cannot deliver.
And there's somebody just slipping away their time because they feel, well, am I not in my house? What am I supposed to be doing?
Exactly.
But we have to be fair to Lagos and Edo state governments. I think Governor Sanwo-Olu and then Governor Obaseki have done a lot, you know. Very pivotal work in terms of bringing reforms to the civil service. I've followed what Edo State Governor has done, particularly in the area of civil service since 2017. You know, this is not just about getting computers. The previous governor had done that, get computers. I've had cause to train a few senior civil servants some years ago. in Edo State. But the point is, the governors think in terms of systems. They think in terms of strategy. They think in terms of the future. What happens with the civil service in the next 10, 20, 30 years? What are we going to do today that the next government can build on? I think they've thought along those lines a lot. So if in 2024, you see how civil servants in Edo State in particular, in Lagos State in particular, who still can't use a PC, who still can't use a smart mobile handheld device, then it's a big shame. Let's take a look at one or two more headlines for you from the blueprints this morning. Military warns against call for coup, urges patience among Nigerians. Southeast leaders drum support for FG. Then at the foot of the blueprint, one headline here reads, $800 million for port rehabilitation ready soon. That was Oyetola, Minister of Marine and Blue Economy. So we flip to The Guardian from where Queen will bring us headlines.
Okay, and now on The Guardian, the front page of The Guardian, the very top of it, we have tales of woe for survivors, joy for repentant terrorists. I don't know how I think about, repentant terrorists. We have 15 years of insurgency. That's the big story, pages 4 and 5. And then under it, that's where we have tales of woe for survivors and joy for repentant terrorists. And then we have 4 raw over Tinubu's 30 billion naira to governors. Furor, I beg your pardon, over Tinubu's 30 billion naira to governors. Senate reps pass Southeast Development Commission bill. You find out on page 24 of the Guardian newspaper. And then we have fresh worries for Naira as FAAC shares 1.149 trillion Naira to federal government, states, and local government. Also on the Guardian, you have PDP factions produce Shaibu Igadolo for Edo gubernatorial poll. And then we have a picture of Sanwo-Olu, and then it says hardship. Sanwo-Olu announces 25% slash in fares and other palliatives, just like you mentioned. Now, take steps to avert planned protest. Afenifere tells Tinubu, Labour, and others. I think that's all for the Guardian newspaper. The next paper would be Nigerian News Direct, which you...
It is interesting, just before we move altogether from the Guardian, there's this infographics that the Guardian usually does for its front page. Beautifully placed. It gives you an insight in terms of the numbers into the 15 years of insurgency in Nigeria. And for starters, insurgency has been here since 2009. You remember the killing of the young man, extrajudicial killing, I should say, categorically, of the young man who was said to have led Boko Haram back in the day. It was a back and forth for a while between the police and the army. And since then, it hasn't been the same with regards to insecurity, first in the northeast, and then by and large across the country. All right, today we understand that Boko Haram has gone on to evolve time and again, has now even evolved to become what they call ISWAP, Islamic States of West Africa Province. It has never been deadlier since afterwards. So when you look at the front page of the Guardian this morning, everyone, you're going to see the numbers there. It says total number of IDPs, right, internally displaced persons, 3.6 million, right, 3.6 million. Now, out of 2.65 million IDPs in the Northeast, 452,219 households, 2.19 million are individuals, all right? So that's very heart-wrenching. It says another 594 were recently set free by the Nigerian Army under Operation Safe Corridor. This brings the total to 4,732. All right, it's crazy, quite crazy. Then it breaks it down to a bit of demographics. It says women 24%, men 19%, girls 31%, boys 26%. But there's one that just hasn't left the memories of Nigerians yet. That is the cheaper girls issue. of 2014. It's been this month, 1 decade down the line, and the conversation just hasn't ended. All right, but let's switch to Nigeria News Direct this Friday morning for you. Let's start from the big story. It says Nigeria's economy falters as GDP growth falls to 2.74%. Now, guess what? That data is coming from the Nigeria Bureau of Statistics, NBS. So you can fight it all you want. It is what it is now. All right. But let's move it a notch higher to the top of the front page. We have one story here with a picture of Governor Seyi Makinde of Oyo State, who has been having his own back and forth with President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio. 30 billion naira allocation. Makinde denies receiving additional funding from FG. Lassa fever, NCDC registers 411 cases, 72 deaths in 6 weeks. And then the headline here that features a picture of Ogun State Governor Dapo Abiodun. Economic hardship. Abiodun unveils initiative to distribute free to the poor. Growing hardship. Sanwo-Olu declares palliative measures, new work days for state workers. And then when you bring it down a little, it says FAC shares 1.149 trillion naira January 2024 revenue to FG States LGS. Oyetola commissions 7 MPA patrol boats to boost maritime security. All right, Quinn will bring us stories from the Tribune, Nigerian Tribune.
Okay, and on the Nigerian Tribune, just above the nameplate of the Nigerian Tribune, we have government halts export of cooking gas to crash prices. Asue Igadalo emerges PDP candidate for Edo governorship election, and FAAC, federal government states LGs share 1.149 trillion naira for January. The big story on the Tribune is food crisis. FG didn't give states 30 billion naira each. Makinde replies Akpabio. Says FG demanding refund of 2 billion naira palliative from states. You find that on page 3 of the Tribune. And then we have Ogun to begin sale of 100 trucks of rice at cheaper rates to give the poor, elderly, vulnerable free allocation. Senate passes Southeast Development Commission bill. That's on page 8 of the Nigerian Tribune. And then you have Igboho returns, attends mother's burial. Moving on, you have Edo APC primary, why Otu took over from Uzodinma. This is credited to the NWC. Imo government, the writer there says Imo governor, not sacked, party says. We go over to see Sanwo-Olu announces measures to ease hardship. The writer says reduces working days for civil servants, approves 25% discount on food purchase, BRT and others. Government to engage 1,000 caterers for daily free meal for residents. Just to mention this, I must say that this is a welcome development from the governor of Lagos State, Sanwo-Olu, as to, cutting down the cost of transportation, as we see, 25% discount on food purchase and all of that, and then the free meal. But I want to ask a question, for how long? Especially as regards giving out these palliatives. For how long do we continue to do this? What measures are we putting in place to ensure that people are stabilized? We cannot continue to, what happens when, we're not even sure of how authentic the process that will get these people to receive this palliative is. We're not sure yet. We're not certain. We can't say that categorically that everybody's going to get. So now, how long do we, like, Mr. Owobu mentioned earlier. Yesterday. He mentioned yesterday. He said that, when we talk about giving people money, giving these people money, he mentioned that the Naira, the point we're making now is not about the money. It's not about the palliatives that are being given to households. But the fact that when you have that money, you can't do anything tangible with it. So are we talking about giving people money and giving people food, or we're talking about how we can stabilize the naira and put the country in a shape where people can be stabilized and work and fend for themselves and live, you know, in an environment that enables them to thrive beyond, you know, just receiving from the government?
It's interesting. I think this is what they call handouts. So you're giving them handouts. They say you're giving people fish rather than teaching them how to fish, right? But again, we can't have that adage now, because the circumstances under which we're operating as a country now won't allow for that. But this is also what social economists would refer to as a stopgap measure, which means that it is not a solution. However, while you're working, or while we believe or expect you're working on a solution or a set of solutions, you say, okay, you make do with this in the meantime. So that's what the Lagos State government is doing. So your question is valid. What you're asking is, for how long can we do this? And what is going to be the ultimate answer to this question? What is going to ultimately resolve this problem? All right, because what you want to do now is more like soup kitchen, right? So people can come, get free meals, handouts, food packs, and stuff like that. You probably can't do that more than once a day. There's no guarantee you're going to do that 7 days a week. There's no assurance as to for how long you're going to do it, and so on and so forth. And then we also need to talk about the modality for distributing this food. Are you going to have strategic positions? Now you want to hire 1,000 caterers. You know, how you're going to outsource that, because the human capital element, all right, in the mix. All right, so these are several things that need to be done. But I know Lagos State government, as is always the practice in cases such as this, would use the help of some private sector people. All right, because you have to outsource these things. I'm not sure the food and other things in the middle of it will be provided by civil servants or those who, excuse me, basically work for the government. So you're going to use some private sector hand, so to speak. But overall, it doesn't take away from the fact that we will have to answer the question of how do we ultimately find a solution. There's a video we're going to play very shortly. It is reportedly said to be something that happened at about 4 p.m. yesterday, the Abuja Suleja Road. You see young people, for the most part, young boys on the road, putting up, setting up a bonfire, and they are targeting, from what we learned, trucks carrying food. So they are going to plunder them and then see how much they can lay their hands on. We're going to play that video in a moment. But this is just to give an insight into how things are fast spiraling for the worse, unless, of course, we decide to be a bit more disruptive and stop all of this in its tracks, right? So there's a headline we're going to look at, I think has to do with the late governor of Ondo State, Rotimi
Akeredolu. Okay, right. Yes. So we see a picture of, that is from the burial of the late governor of Ondo State, Governor Rotimi Akeredolu, and then we see testimonies about our patriarch consoled us. This statement is credited to his family. Dignitaries coverage on Owo for service of songs. Christian wake, burial service hold today. Oh. Okay, this is from, I beg your pardon, this picture is from his wake. Yes, and so that's it on the Tribune. I think that's all. So we're moving to the Punch. Move to the Punch, right, which will take us through.
All right, let's take a look at the Punch quickly for you. Punch is also buzzing and sizzling with headlines. So this morning we're going to start with one that has a picture of the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic. Let's see now. Tinubu appoints new AMCON CEO. Agencies get 13 directors. Edo Igodalo emerges PDP candidate. Shoaibu wins parallel primary. I mean, this is very interesting, but it's not a story for today. We're supposed to get the Commissioner for Information in those states on the show this morning, but as expected, it's the morning after, as they say. So his hands are a bit full. But we're going to have him on the show in the days ahead. So we can talk about these issues as they unfold, right? Palliative palaver. Now, this is the star story. Palliative palaver, governors tackle Akpabio, deny receiving FG 1 trillion naira lifeline. Two riders accompany the headline. The first one says, NGF says 1 trillion naira windfall on true. Lagos, Osun, Benue, Katsina, Zamfara deny receiving 30 billion naira each. Food truck looted in Niger. Police warn against Ekiti rally. Lagos Ogun rollout relief. That's the way to go. Let's continue to have relief until there is a definitive solution. Military police NEMA conducts search rescue drill in Rivers. Manufacturing others suffer as GDP slows to 3-year low. Ibadan Disco disconnects UCH, over 500 million naira debt. That's quite concerning. Your University College Hospital, I mean, where you have patients, some of them in intensive care units. FG plans cooking gas export ban to crash prices. You see, I look at all of these challenges we're dealing with today, and I'm asking myself, could you not have done some of these things? Could you not have attended to some of these problems even before now? You see, that's why people would always talk about how the government must be responsive, not reactive. Government must be proactive, not reactionary. Otherwise, this is what you have. So all of a sudden, we're taking a closer look, a much closer look at the prices of cooking gas. And we know most homes in Nigeria use cooking gas. So why haven't we done something about this long before now? Well, we turn to Daily Trust now, and Quinn will bring us those headlines. That's our last paper, by the way.
Okay, and on Daily Trust, we have FG bans cooking gas export to stabilize price. Forex, government urged to harness foreign remittances informal markets. Media Trust appoints Gwadabe deputy editor-in-chief. The big story there is hardships. Youths attack trucks, steal food items in Niger. So I think that should be the video that will be played much later. Please stop protest against hunger in Jigawa. Dikwa residents threaten to join insurgents. Nigerians interested in practical solution, not theories. This is attributed to Shetima. And then we see a picture of pictures, crowded pictures, obviously. This should be as regards smoke blowing at Suleja Junction along the Abuja-Kaduna Expressway during an attack by hoodlums. We see pictures of that on the Daily Trust. And then we have ECOWAS may lift sanctions on Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso tomorrow. We have Senate rejects 65 years retirement age bill for National Assembly workers. BUK showers economics, I beg your pardon, as Professor Yadudu retires. And that's it. Daily Trust Foundation trains 22 Northwest journalists in advanced data journalism. I think that's all the stories we have on the Daily Trust.
Let's take a look at something. This video we're going to play for you now was said to have happened. I mean, the footage was an incident that is reported to have taken place, I should say, yesterday at about 4 p.m. West African time, or just around Niger State. You see young people, all right, several of them, young people, we should see that video in the background now. All of them, I mean, running wild, putting up bonfire right in the middle of a federal highway in the hopes that they would find trucks loaded with food, particularly, we were told, rice, just so they can plunder and see what they can find. Let's play that video quickly.
Kaduna Road, Suleja Express Road, ana zanga-zanga wato protest na yunwa da ake fama da ita. Kowa san cewa an samu tsadar rayuwa yanzu. To ana jifa. Ana jifa fa. Wallahi ana jifa. Gaskiya jifa ake yi. Matasa sun fusata. ga kowa hankalin kowa ya tashi, gwamnati ya kamata su san abin da ya kamata su yi. All the masses are out. They are out for the protests. Kaduna Road, Suleja, Express Road, ana protest. Insha Allah, gwamnati ta duba mana, gaskiya ana cikin tashin hankali. Shugaba Tinubu, kana kallo ga abin da yake faruwa yanzu haka. Yawwa. Abinci ne? Ba abinci bane, ba abinci bane. Duba, duba.
So, sad as it is, that's just some insight into developments on account of the food crisis that the country is now dealing with. So, I mean, it's a no-brainer that this calls for quick action because whether you like it or not, you have several of these young people across the country. I mean, for a country already dealing with more than 30% unemployment rates, I mean, over 50% of young people who graduate from this country every year are either not employable or are not employed. Now, that's probably a conversation for another day. However, for today, we must realize that we already had what medical doctors would call underlying ailments before this food crisis now became the icing on the cake, for want of better words. So it means we just have a potpourri of issues to deal with now as a government and as a people.
True. And I really pray that this doesn't spread, it doesn't become widespread like these actions, because we see now that this is happening in Niger State, and before you know it, I mean, it's on the internet, before you know it, some other youth will see it as, you know, it is what it is. The country is hard, we must survive, and then it doesn't become a national problem. So I pray and I hope that drastic measures will be taken. Already there are measures put in place already, but drastic measures be taken to curb this.
Yeah, I hope so too, because I mean, we just continue to hope and do our bits, whether as individuals or corporate entities. We'll continue to follow the conversations for you, both here on Global Morning and all through broadcasting. Queen, thank you for coming on the program.
It's a pleasure.
All right, the conversations continue here on Global Television.